I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
In August 1955, Emmett Till Bradley reluctantly put her 14-year-old son Emmett on a train from Chicago to Mississippi to visit his great-uncle Moses. She was worried that Emmett's confident Chicago manners would get him into trouble in the small community deep in the American South, where black segregation was the law. Emmett's mother did her best to prepare him carefully for this trip. She said, "Don't speak to white folks unless you are spoken to. Step off the sidewalk when they pass. Never look them in the eye." Emmett shook off his mother's worries. He knew plenty of white folk in Chicago, and they were all pretty chill. How bad could it really be? Well, that summer, Emmett had gone to buy bubblegum at the local town store. He was with his cousins, but we don't have a clear account of what exactly happened at the store. The 14-year-old, who was known for being a prankster, might have been showing off to his cousins, but his cousins were dumbfounded when Emmett went into the store and talked directly to the white lady behind the counter. He might have even whistled at her. That white lady, Carolyn Bryant, was enraged that this black child would dare whistle at her, and in a rage went and told her husband that a black man had openly flirted with her, grabbed her, and said inappropriate things. Roy Bryant and his brother-in-law, J.W. Milam, decided this boy needed to be taught a lesson, and they kidnapped Emmett from his uncle's house in the middle of the night. Emmett's uncle Moses was unable to prevent these two men from taking the boy. Emmett was taken to a nearby barn, and he was tortured before he was shot and killed. 3 days later, they found Emmett's body in the Tallahatchie River. The body was tied to a cotton gin fan with barbed wire, and one of his eyes was gouged out. The body was so disfigured that Emmett could only be identified because of the ring Emmett wore that once belonged to his father. The Mississippi authorities wanted to bury the body quickly, but Emmett's mother, Mamie, requested it be sent back to Chicago. She told the undertaker not to clean up the body. She insisted on an open coffin for the funeral, so that the world could see what they did to her son. At the funeral service, tens of thousands of people filed past Emmett's coffin. Some fainted at the sight. The horrifying photographs of his disfigured face was published and reprinted in magazines and newspapers everywhere. Now, are you wondering what happened to the two men who killed Emmett? Was justice served? Did they spend the rest of their lives in jail? Bryant and Milam were acquitted by an all-white jury of Emmett's kidnapping and murder. Acquitted means they were found not guilty. No punishment at all. The court thought the whole thing was a joke. After all, this happens all the time in Mississippi. The white jury needed only 10 minutes to declare them innocent. They said it wouldn't even have taken that long, but they decided to go across the street and buy some Cokes before they delivered the verdict. If you think, well, maybe it wasn't them, they didn't kill him. The case was heard in a court of law. There is no way they were going to let two men who murdered a child walk free. Well, a year after the trial in 1956, the two men publicly admitted in a magazine interview that they did it, and they have no remorse. And the woman, Carolyn, admitted to lying about what Emmett did. He did not flirt with her. He did not grab her. Now, why am I telling you this one story? It's a horrible story for sure, but it is not unique. Thousands of black men and boys have been lynched on lesser pretexts. Their killers never arrested, let alone brought to trial. But it was Emmett Till's murder that propelled the civil rights movement and broke through white America's silence about race killings. It was Emmett's mother Mamie's courage to let the world see what racism does. Emmett's murder was a spark for the civil rights movement. It will only be a few months after the murder, in December that year, when a woman was asked to give up her seat on a bus for a white man. She looked at that man and thought of the boy that died that summer, one state over, and told the man, "I will not move."
I have a dream.
I got a dream.
One day.
We're gonna work it out.
One day.
We're gonna work it out.
One day.
We're gonna work it out.
I have a dream.
I got a dream.
One day.
We're gonna work it out.
One day.
We're gonna work it out.
One day.
We're gonna work
I
it out.
have a dream.
I got a dream.
That one day.
That one day. I'm a little deeper than myself. I gotta find a way.
I have a dream.
My dream is to be free. My dream is to be. My dream is to be. My dream is to be free.
In search of brighter days, I ride through the maze of the madness. Struggle is my address where pain and crack lives. Gunshots coming from sounds of blackness. Given this game with no time to practice. Born on the blacklist. Told I'm below average. A life with no cabbage. That's no money if you from where I'm from.